have done one of these. A couple of things that we want to talk about, I guess, predominantly would be related to NERN, some of the stuff with the new Index Growth Committee. I will be encouraging some participation in votes, and then we'll just open up the floor to talk about everything and anything in between. So I think probably best to start with the introduction of the new Growth Committee, because that's kind of going to be what the driver is for stuff going forward. So Lido, if you want to start with that, then I will shut up for the time being.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, I'll share my screen. Yeah, so exactly. I'll talk about the Index Growth Committee and just our general vision for marketing and business development activities for Q3 and Q4. That's the term that the new Index Growth Committee was elected for. And yeah, the election happened 3 weeks ago, and we're currently setting up the new Gnosis multisig, which will manage over the budget of the Index Growth Committee for Q3 and Q4. We have already, yeah, we've already had a call with the Index Growth Committee, the new members, and sort of aligned on a wait, I can't skip the slides. Why is that happening? Okay, weird. And agreed on a general vision. So I'll walk you through that, and happy to talk more about it and get your feedback. So where we're standing currently is, or at least as how we identified it, is that Index clearly has product market fit. We have a super sticky user base, which has stayed around, although yeah, the market has turned bearish. Now it's, yeah, has turned again, but there was a time where everything looked kind of bad. But there was a subset of the initial user base that definitely stayed around and seems to like our product. It definitely is also clear that the days of crazy liquidity mining and NDX skyrocketing, you know, at the very beginning of this project are over. But we've carved out a place for Index in the DeFi ecosystem, and we have a pretty good reputation for shipping new products very fast, like shipping new indices almost always before our competitors do. Now with NERN, we've again shipped something pretty cool, which Dylan will touch upon later. We're also, yeah, quite successful at closing partnerships with other DeFi protocols, despite our size, I would like to say. But yeah, the next 2 quarters, it's clear that we need to accelerate on marketing and growing our user base. And in order to achieve that, it's also clear that we need to involve our community more and really make marketing something that like make it a decentralized effort, basically, because unlike dev or product, like marketing is really a function that can be decentralized super easily. When you look at communities like Ohm or Link, for example, where really, you know, like everyone is just helping to market the product, and we need to become better at that. Okay, it's weird, I cannot change the slides. So yeah, we think we have a pretty good product in terms of how decentralized the product is, or how automated the management of the product is. So every function of the Index protocol is decentralized and automated by smart contracts, unlike some of our competitive products where you have a centralized team that does the reweighting, the rebalancing, and so on. This happens completely autonomously thanks to our portfolio structure and so some other changes that we've added to how these AMMs work. And the other big advantage is that we don't charge any management fee on for holding our indices. So a user can just buy an index token like DeFi 5, and there's absolutely no cost for the user. And so really, if you would buy an index, there's actually a very little reasons to not buy it from index.finance if there's no management fee. And, you know, just like the portfolio structure is cheaper thanks to lower rebalancing costs, lower slippage. And we think, yeah, there's also the performance has been pretty good. And then in a couple of weeks or months, thanks to this new product that we've shipped, Learn, they'll also be productive. So each index will generate like yield on top of the just capital gains of the underlying tokens appreciating. They will actually be productive. Each token in the index will be lent out thanks to Learn and generate yield to their users. So this is really becoming a product that is super attractive to hold for someone that wants to gain exposure to DeFi. Not only do they get passive exposure to the price, but also they are actively lending out and generating yield. So yeah, it's clear that our product is pretty good, but we need to do a better job at marketing each of these indices. So there was strong feedback from within the IGC committee, the Index Growth Committee, but also from the community, that we should kind of define some North Star KPIs that will kind of guide all of our marketing activities. And so we came up with these. So currently our TVL stands at 36 million. We want to double this until the end of the year. And yeah, this is like a conservative estimate. We think we can do even better, but this is sort of like what we want to achieve, the minimum, and thereby solidify our position as the second largest index protocol after the index core. We also want to increase our the size of NDX holders by 50%, and also like active token holders. We think this is an important metric because more active voting and also a bigger community in size is just helpful for our marketing efforts because just more people talk about us. And then we also want to increase the number of users that hold at least one of our indices. So currently this stands at 3,500, and we want to increase this to 8,000. This would determine a successful 2 quarters from the perspective of the Index Growth Committee. So the breaking this down to key action items, we in the 3 areas. Sorry, can everyone mute themselves? Cosmic Frog. Okay, I just muted you. Don't forget to mute yourself, guys. Sorry. Yeah, breaking this down into key action items along 3 of the biggest areas where we can just do stuff as the Index Growth Committee. We've identified these 9 key action items. So in terms of partnerships, we want to get at least 1 lending platform which adds an index token as collateral. So we think this would just make our indices more useful if you could get a loan and just use them as collateral, since they're quite stable and diversified. Then we want to get 1 significant partnership with a top 5 wallet that puts us or one of our indices in prime spotlight and just leads to a lot of new user acquisitions and purchases of our indices. And then we'd also like to list NDX on a centralized exchange, on a tier 1 exchange. In terms of marketing, we would like to do a big cross-platform influencer campaign. And I'll talk more about each of these key action items afterwards. We also want to do 3 paid ad campaigns on platforms like Reddit, Etherscan, or a famous podcast in the crypto space. We want to build out an academy with education videos about indexed. And this has already started, but it's a goal to complete this and also advertise this platform. And then in terms of community building, we want to do another index tournament. And we want to get back to doing monthly community calls instead of every 2 months or even less. And we want to do a bi-weekly spotlight article or video of a token that is in any of our indices. Again, I'll talk more about each of them. So in terms of partnerships, we have a couple there in the pipeline. So there's yield.is, which is a super cool lending platform. They're backed by Paradigm. I think they're going to be very, very big. They've just shipped their V1 as a sort of MVP, but they're very close to shipping the V2. And the advantage with yield.is is that you can actually lock in your interest rate for up to 9 months. And I have talked with the founders there to add DeFi5 as collateral at launch of the V2, which would be pretty big, and even bigger, in my opinion, than something like Aave, because fixed rate loans are almost always advantages over like variable rate loans. Then I've also talked with my.finance, which is a project a bit like MakerDAO on Polygon, where you can use a lot of tokens as collateral to mint their stablecoin My. And yeah, this is looking good, but a problem with many of the lending platforms like My or Aave or Compound is that they need a chainlink feed, which we don't have currently, and it's quite complicated to get one because the chainlink team only prioritizes like very big projects or projects where the technical integration is very easy, which is in both of these things are not the case with us. So the other two options that we're looking at are lending platforms that have permissionless listings of new lending markets. So there's we were thinking about doing a fuse pool managed by the index DAO, where we would run the Oracle and a lot of other key things. And then you could basically lend out and borrow against each of our index tokens and NDX. So we would basically own a fuse pool on Rari. And the other option is Kashi from Sushi, which is quite similar to Fuse, also permissionless. So TLDR is that there's strong chances that at least one of the permissionless options will be realized by the end of Q4, if not before. And it will be a strong plus if we'd also get yield.is or My, or why not the two? Exactly. So that's in terms of lending platforms. Then I mentioned a key integration with a wallet. And yeah, I'm actually happy to announce that we're gonna be on Argent. So Argent is launching a L2 account. They've been working on this for the past year. It's been a huge thing for them. So Argent, for those who don't know, is a smart contract wallet that is ultra secure and super easy to use, because they're using smart contracts and making a lot of these interactions with DeFi much more seamless, removing approvals. A lot of things are just much easier in Argent. They have had a lot of issues though, because a lot of the things in Argent have become super expensive because of gas prices rising. And so the last year they have investigated into launching L2 accounts on a ZK rollup called ZK Sync. And they are launching this in September, very beginning of September. And yeah, they're launching with the best DeFi projects in the space: Aave, Yearn, Lido, Paraswap, and Ramp as a fiat on-ramp. So basically, this will be all the best features of Argent, but in addition to that, it will be ultra cheap, like sub 1 second Visa scale type transactions where users can, onboard on L2, buy crypto with a credit card, and then buy a DeFi5 index, for example. So yeah, so they announced this account for like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then we approached the Argent team and negotiated to get DeFi5 on there. And together with Wintermute, our market maker, we've kind of made it possible to basically bridge DeFi5 onto the ZK rollup, and Wintermute will provide the liquidity there. So big thanks to them here. We'll announce this in the next couple of days. But basically for me, this is as good as launching on a centralized exchange, because I think Argent will really be the one-stop solution for people new to the space, and the kind of the wallet that is just the easiest way to get DeFi exposure. And so we're super happy to be the only index launching on that new account type. Then other partnerships, or not other partnerships, but the third point that I mentioned, being listing NDX on a centralized exchange. We're currently talking with both Bitstamp and Coinbase. The Bitstamp talks are quite advanced, and it would probably be not for an index token. That looks a bit more complicated. Governance tokens are sort of okay now for centralized exchanges, but everything, like any financial instrument that is a bit more complex, is still it's kind of scary for these centralized exchanges. But yeah, governance tokens are more straightforward. So we're talking to those two, and yeah, hopefully we'll realize one of the two. Then other partnerships, we were waiting to migrate more of our index pools to Sushi, but we're blocked by, we were waiting basically for a feature on Sushi that would allow us to distribute dual tokens for each of these liquidity pools, so NDX and Sushi. This has just shipped 2 weeks ago, and we were busy launching NERN, but the next step is basically putting Degen there, and then so users will basically get double the yield, not only Sushi but also NDX, and then replicating this for NFTP and DeFi 5, CC10, and so on. And like we just have a really good partnership with the Sushi team. They're super responsive. They're multi-chain. They could even one day help with liquidity on for example Polygon and Arbitrum and Optimism. They help. They often retweet our things when we launch something with them. For Kashi, the lending platform, they're just going like vertical, adding new products, and we feel by being under their umbrella will benefit more than by being on Uniswap, because like Uniswap, there's just no communication with the team whatsoever. So yeah, there's like many reasons why we prefer to be on Sushi. And yeah, we're looking to complete this in like this month, or at the latest the month after. What else in partnerships? Yeah, other partnerships, we're looking at getting more perpetuals. So one is launching on MCDEX. It's already live on testnet. MCDEX is launching on Arbitrum. And then we're also going to make a governance proposal to DYDX soon. This was suggested to us by Wintermute, our market maker, who is one of the largest investors in DYDX. And yeah, we think this is super useful because it will not directly translate into bigger AUM for DeFi 5, for example, because actually it's just a price feed that is being like kind of traded on these perpetual platforms, but it's definitely very useful in terms of brand awareness. So yeah, super keen to get those two going. Then yeah, marketing. Marketing is kind of hard in DeFi, because it's not like in traditional sectors where you can just like pour money into a funnel and you can essentially buy traffic, right? Like if you do a huge Google ad campaign, you can just throw money at it, and like users will come, and then it's just up to you to build a good product that will actually make those users profitable. But if you want, you can buy traffic. In crypto, that's much harder. Like we would love to do it, because we're not even the most well-funded DAO, but like there's just money in crypto, and like people want to get users, but it's just not so easy to buy traffic, because many of the traditional advertising channels don't work for crypto. But yeah, we're definitely experimenting in that area. And yeah, surprisingly, what really worked the best was in the past quarters were organic mentions. So things we haven't even like really organize ourselves, but that just happened. Maybe also because we did good things on the product side and like in terms of brand awareness, but we didn't actively pay or something for it. So one was Stansberry, which is like a research platform or research paper that talks about traditional finance, but they also talk about crypto. And they mentioned Degen and DeFi 5 in separate articles. And in both cases, it led to really big traffic and AUM increase as well. So that was huge for us. Then today, Ilya Trades mentioned us, who's one of the like biggest influencers, but high quality one. And he mentioned NFTP. Then we also got mentioned on Nuggets News, which is a big Australian research group. Unfortunately, the founder there got a bad rap recently, but there again, it was like NDX price increased by like 200% in a week after we got mentioned there. So this is stuff where like we clearly see it's huge when these big crypto platforms that have a big audience mention us, but it's hard to really replicate. But we have launched a TikTok campaign last quarter, which we think was quite successful. The total cost was $20,000, and here's just like an example influencer that we activated for this. We partnered with an agency, and so we actually had 18 posts by 18 different influencers. We got 600,000 views. They all linked to a Medium article that explained how to buy DeFi 5, and it got 13,000 clicks. Afterwards, we couldn't track the conversion more than that because we like simply didn't have the tools for it. But this was targeted at one market, namely France, and we actually a week before launching a second of these campaigns, this time bigger, with the same agency, this time a slightly bigger budget, but targeted internationally and cross platform, both Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube actually, but they're not on the list yet. And you see there's some really big names like Gabriel Garcia, for example. I don't know if you guys follow a bit crypto TikTok, but 1.1 million followers. People really know him. Clément Vanier in France, 1 million. And we think the timing this time will be in our favor. Last campaign was launched in the midst of the bear market, quote unquote. And we think this time it will be just launched at a better point in time. I want to stress also that we're really carefully selecting here. We're not actively pumping NDX or something, but really trying to highlight the advantages of passive investing and holding our indices, and as just a good way to invest in DeFi, but not making any crazy promises. And we're being very careful here about what these influencers say about us. But we think it's a big way to activate more people. What else? We want to organize 3 paid ads campaigns. I'm currently talking to the Etherscan team and got all the quotes and stuff ready to launch this campaign. But especially since we have a quite active presence on Polygon with QuickSwap, where we have significant liquidity. We're thinking to use Polygon Scan here instead of Etherscan, and have the banner on Polygon Scan actually linking directly to QuickSwap, to the pool where the DeFi 5 or CC10 trades, and see if this has any impact. Then doing a paid campaign on Reddit, and then doing another podcast campaign on either Unchained, or which we already did last quarter, or another podcast. And then in terms of community, we want to do another tournament. We did 2 tournaments so far. These were organized by Oceanography, who's one of our community members. I'm sure you know him. it was, so the first tournament, I think, had about 100 participants or even less. And the second one, about like 150, I think, so even more. These were limited in size because just the capacity and infrastructure of the website. But now we're looking to open this up to more people. It was actually really successful in terms of number of applications. We had to limit it because there were just too many. But we think that this was really a cool initiative, a cool way to make people talk about us and indirectly also about indices, which is our product. So it makes a lot of sense to repeat these and open them up progressively to more people, and also work with people there that have a following, so they talk about us and so on. So really, this is pretty straightforward. That it makes sense to do it more. And I also want to thank Oceanography here for taking the initiative, and it's really something that we love and want to encourage more. If other community members have ideas like that, we are happy to fund it, to use the index finance accounts to get some traffic on these initiatives and so on. But yeah, this is planned for this quarter actually. And then community, this brings me to another point. We want to do bi-weekly spotlights of tokens that are in our indices, because we think that, I mean, a lot of the index holders, they don't have a perfect overview of exactly what happens or kind of the progress of the tokens that they hold indirectly through one of our indices. And so we want to become sort of a research platform that provides a lot of insights on these things and provides in-depth research about these projects. And so this is something, I kind of, and we talked about this in the Index Growth Committee. One of the members there, Kusa, has already started some drafts of I hear my echo somehow. Is everyone muted?
You need to mute Gassy.
It's done. Continue.
Okay, thanks. So this is something that Kusa, one of the members of the Index Growth Committee, has already started suggesting a format for this, but and it's looking good. So we're looking to do this either on our Medium or create a separate platform for this. Maybe even merge it with the newsletter that the monthly newsletter that another community member has started building. So we're still in the ideation phase here, but it's clear that this will happen very soon. And it just makes a lot of sense. It's also where we will make just provide insights before we add new tokens into some of our indices. So it just and we're looking to get also I looked at Messari as an example of how they're doing things, and they opened this hub recently because they were realizing that with their paid research team they couldn't actively cover the whole DeFi space because it's just getting too big. So they opened up this research hub to like the community, basically anyone who wanted to contribute. And we would actually love to do something similar where our community members could submit a draft of a project following a format that we have developed, and then the Index Growth Committee would either say yes or no to the report based on some criteria that we've established. But this is definitely something that we want to get going and have some traction on before the end of Q4 as well. And this is sort of the end about marketing. Let us know if stop sharing. If you have any questions on this, we can pick it up either now or at the end of the talk in the FAQ section.
Thank you. Okay, I guess the next thing is to jump immediately then into Dylan talking a bit about NERN. I suspect everyone knows at this point kind of the vague idea of how it is, given that it's all over the site. Lido, I think now's the time to give him screen share permissions. But yeah, Dylan's just prepared a quick, it's shorter, slideshow just about how this works, how it's going to get integrated, some of the, the general gist. If you're watching this on YouTube in the future, this is for you as much as anyone else. So yeah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so NERN is our new yield aggregator, and I'm just gonna go through this presentation. It's kind of a brief overview of kind of what it is and why we made it, and what's left to do. So the problem that we're trying to solve is that most of the assets that we have in our index pools are supported on different lending markets, but the lending market that has the best interest rate for each asset is constantly changing. So, today, Uni might be getting the best interest rate on Aave, tomorrow might be Cream, the day after it might be Compound. And so if we were to just kind of replace the base assets in each of our index pools with some wrapper from a lending market, then we would have to constantly be switching them out or just not getting the best interest rate possible. But the assets that we have there are capable of generating some interest for the token holders rather than just being sitting there idle. So what we've made is a permissionless yield aggregator. Each asset that is available on like the different lending markets can be deployed as a vault. So for DAI, for example, we can have a vault for DAI, which we do at the moment. We automatically map out the lending markets supported by each different lending protocol. So we deploy a special contract for each protocol, like Aave v1, Aave v2, Compound, and so on. And then that contract figures out all the lending markets that are supported by it, the underlying asset, the wrapper token, and then those all get registered in another contract so we can keep track of, for DAI or for Uni, what are all the different lending markets that exist for it in the protocols that we've approved so far. Then we can deploy a vault for one of those underlying assets, and the vault knows which lending markets exist for the underlying asset, and then anyone can come to the vault and tell it to rebalance the deposits between the different lending markets such that it gets the best interest rate. And then there's no permission to count that does this. There's no like multi-sig that's able to rebalance the vault the way that that works on most other yield aggregators. It's all done on chain. The vault itself will just take a call from anyone and then verify that the suggestion you're giving for the new lending market to use will actually result in an improved yield. And if it does, then it'll go ahead and rebalance. So the current status of NERN is that we have support for 6 different protocols. 4 of them are really like 2 projects, but they're separate like lending platforms. So we have Aave v1 and v2, Compound, Cream and Iron Bank, and Fulcrum. With those, I think we have something like 130, something like that, different lending markets we've registered, and a very large number of underlying assets that are supported.
It's 98.
98, okay, thank you. So the contracts haven't been audited yet, and that is why the vault deployment is currently restricted. Once the contracts have been audited, for any asset that's supported on 2 at least of the different lending markets we've supported, you'll be able to just go and deploy a vault. So, if Uni doesn't already have a NERN vault, then you can come along and just deploy one, as long as it has enough lending markets that support it. So at the moment, we have 5 of these vaults, USDC, USDT, Wrap Bitcoin, DAI, and Sushi. We'll probably be expanding that in the next couple of weeks. but it's going to stay a fairly small number until we've gotten all the contracts audited. And then so at the moment we use proxies the same way that our index pools do, and these vaults can be upgraded. Once everything's been audited, we'll switch that out and everything will just be deployed as its own contract, and it'll be even more permissionless there because we won't have the ability to change the code. So yeah, if you want to use them now, you can go to index-finance/vaults. If you go to the website under the products tab, there's vaults there, and you can deploy, or you can deposit assets into the vaults, see how much interest you've earned and how the assets are supported, distributed among the different lending markets. So what we're trying to get done relatively soon is add support for some fuse pools. We already have the contracts ready for that. It's just a matter of determining which ones we think are safe enough to kind of add support for. Because there are a number of kind of smaller fuse pools that might not use the best oracles or might have some individual who's able to control it, and so we don't want to introduce those into the registry. We also already have the contracts ready for the DYDX markets, but we need to do some additional testing and just kind of verify that they're going to work properly, because the DYDX markets don't have wrapper tokens, and that introduces some additional complications. We're looking to get the code audited. We're also in discussions about getting formal verification done on the contracts, where we essentially write out exactly what the specification is, and then we get a guarantee that the code will actually meet that specification. We are also looking at making a referral program. So that would need DAO approval, but the idea would be if some other interface like Zapper or Xerion or something like that wants to add support for NERN, then we would give them a contract that they can have users deposit through, and then we would track the amount of interest that's being earned on those deposits, and then give them a percentage of the profit fees that are being earned. So that'll need to be approved by the DAO, because it would be taking away revenue from the treasury, but it would also likely lead to more users using the vaults. The main thing that we want to do is add NERN to our index pools, so that we can actually solve the problem statement that was stated initially, which is that we have all of these assets we want to be using productively. And NERN is the solution to that. We don't want to switch it over now. We're not creating a vote for that right now, because the contracts have not been audited, and so we don't want to just deposit basically the entire protocol's value into a brand new project that was just deployed. But yeah, once we have audits, then we'll be making a proposal to move all the assets into NERN. Then, yeah, like I said, we want to make the vault deployment public again once the contracts are in their kind of final form. So there are a couple of issues that we haven't totally solved just yet, but we're working on them. So one is regulatory concerns or impact on our ability to get listed on a centralized exchange if we do deposit all the assets into index pools into NERN, because they would then be generating interest, and there's some concerns around maybe that would be considered some kind of dividend, or maybe consider like more of a structured asset. And so that could cause issues. We're going to be talking with some attorneys before we actually create that proposal to move the assets into NERN. So if it turns out that that is going to be an issue, then rather than moving all the assets in DeFi 5, for example, into NERN, we would probably create a new proposal to just make a separate index that uses that, so that we have one where you're kind of just holding the assets and one where they're being used more productively. So we're still not totally sure how that's going to pan out, but we'll have updates for you soon, hopefully. So another thing that we want to be able to do is use other sources of yield, where they're not lending markets. So there are projects like Yearn and Staked Out that deploy vaults. They use different kinds of strategies to earn interest, and depending on what those strategies are, they might potentially be just as safe as using a lending market, or they might be more risky. So in integrating that, we're going to have to look into kind of each individual vault, the strategies that it's capable of using, and make a determination on whether it's safe enough to kind of integrate into this, because NERN is really meant to be a very secure kind of passive investment strategy where you're just moving assets between markets to get the best interest rate. But if the best interest rate is something that's pretty risky for your assets, then you don't want to use that, because we're going to be deploying this for index pools, which are meant to be a really secure kind of investment vehicle. So that is kind of TBD. And then there's also some technical issues around that, which is like, since they're not lending markets, we can't measure the APR on chain. And so then we have to build an additional tooling around that, which comes with other security concerns. One thing is, so I mentioned before, anyone can tell the vault to rebalance. That is done by bots at the moment. I think Lawrence is kind of just running a script a few times a day to check whether the vaults should rebalance or not. We're going to be deploying a more advanced bot relatively soon, and we'll be running it for the time being, but we want to look into how do we kind of scale that? How do we create incentives for people to run these optimizer bots, so that once everything is public and anyone can deploy a vault, maybe we have 50 different NERN vaults. We probably don't want the core team taking on the full responsibility of like running these bots. So, maybe we could give some people some kind of a share in the interest that they're generating by causing the vault to get a better interest rate. So that's something we're looking into. So the benefits for index, there's a few of them. So NERN is its own standalone project, but we're also using it in the index pools. But the interest that's generated, 10% of the profits go to the treasury. So as we have more vaults, and as the TVL grows, as we're kind of introducing other lending markets and getting better interest rates, the treasury will be getting more revenue through NERN. And then once we have the index pools depositing into NERN, we'll be getting a share of the profit fees to the treasury. And then with the index pools, once we have NERN deployed for the index pools, there'll be much more attractive kind of investment opportunities, because you're not going to have capital just sitting around. It's going to be used to generate additional yield on top of the gains that you get from the base assets growth. And so that will make our indices much more attractive. And then, yeah, so here are the links. We have the white paper written mostly by Lawrence. It's really good. That goes into a lot of detail about how everything works. We have an FAQ on the site with some documentation of various descriptions of how NERN works and various questions people have asked. And the repo is open source if you want to read the code.
Thank you very much, man. Right. Okay, final bit for me, and then we'll open up to questions. And mine is a 3-4 minute appeal. If you have NDX in your wallet right now, there are 2 votes that are currently active on Snapshot. They are both related to final parameter determination for the DNDX mechanism. For those who, I suspect everyone in this call is aware, but if you're not, or on YouTube later, hello. DNDX is, again, our mechanism for staking the native NDX token in order for a claim on protocol revenue. This is not an uncommon idea, but it is our personal take on it. 2 votes that are currently active are determining the rate, the split between the treasury and what is allocated to NDX stakers. So in that sense, if what can be directly reserved by the DAO for future development and growth, and what can be allocated to effectively an APR on the governance token if staked. And the other one, which seems to be somewhat controversial is then a affirmation or change of the decision of what reward token. And my take on this is at least that by doing this, the DAO has more confidence in itself than the British government. But yes, so when the vote was originally held in April, it was decided by 290,000 votes that NDX should be the token. As we developed NERN and kind of grew a bit and really like thought stuff through, I'm the one who posted a forum thread about my concerns about slippage on the open markets and the potential to introduce raw arbitrageurs opportunities for scalpers. I do not want revenue generated by the DAO to be lost to bots. That's kind of the core of where this concern is there. That vote is active as well. Again, there's a forum thread that's on the governance vote. Go and have a read if you feel like putting yourself to sleep. I would implore you all, if you have not voted, please vote. These things are very, like, they're the final pieces that we need to put into place before we can deploy the staking mechanism, and they are also the most important. So yeah, with that said, that's my piece done. I did say 3 or 4 minutes. And I guess now is the time for questions. Don't all rush in at once, it's fine.
Should I ask just one question, or I have like
Hey,
2 questions?
How many of you got, man? When I was at HCC, someone asked me 4 questions on the bounce.
Okay.
That's almost
So the
5.
first, so the first question is for Dylan. Like, I'm just kind of wondering if you had contemplated early on in the inception, just raising just venture capital money. Just kind of wondering, because then that would have given more capital to just expand and, you know, like spend more money on marketing and acquire users, and what your thought was of not going the VC route.
So I thought about it a bit. I did discuss the project with a few VCs. One thing that I think a lot of people maybe forgot or weren't aware of is that back when we made this project, there wasn't a lot of confidence, particularly from VCs, that index products would actually be attractive, you know, assets in Ethereum. And they really didn't kind of believe in the vision of the project. They thought, you know, well, everyone who's in DeFi is a degen. They're going to pick their own assets that they want to invest in. Nobody's going to use ETFs. So I think we've definitely proven them wrong on that. But so yeah, that was one barrier to getting VCs. Another thing is we just, you know, we wanted to distribute the governance tokens to the people who are actually going to be, you know, involved in the project, you know, so we distributed a lot really early on, and then, you know, more over the next couple of months after that. And, you know, I think that's worked out really well. We have a lot of people who have, you know, a fair amount of governance say, who really care about the project, who've been using it back since, you know, like January. And yeah, I think that was a good decision.
Got it. And then, are there any plans to have like single-sided staking for NFTP?
I can answer this. So when the algo was originally set up for the staking mechanism, the rule that I kind of suggested to the Sigma committee, given that we were the ones who were donating the program funds over and maintaining the allocations, was, okay, we can do this, but it probably doesn't make sense to do it for all of them, because the smaller indices would then just become kind of a perverse incentive. They're like, no one's using it, but people are just putting funds into it in order to yield fund. And then that's fine. But we figured that if we were going to do that, it would be for the larger indices, which is why the decision as it stands right now is to do it for the top 3 indices by TVL. When the FFF launched, I expected that to quite rapidly become one of the top 3, in which case that would have taken, I think, CC10's place. That hasn't happened. But like, that would be kind of, at least as things stand, like, this is not written in stone, but like that, this is the current thinking, that would be the barrier for single-sided staking. It would be, okay, take a shot at the king, don't miss, and then take its place in single-sided staking. So in this case, I think anything that would take over would be like, for example, the NFTP beating out CC10 and taking its place. So there is a set amount of allocation points for indices. and the ratio of those are set based on TVL, like relative to three. If you want single-sided staking for it, advertise the index, right? That is what it is, right?
And another thing worth mentioning here is that we just elected the new Sigma committee, and the staking allocations are selected by them. So the current method of distributing the rewards among the different assets might potentially change depending on what the views are of the new committee members.
Yes, which is actually a good point in that there are some of them in there. They have not been more widely announced yet, not on Twitter or what have you. I still need to hand over control to them, but I do want to say congrats. It is Dylan keeping his place, Tay, Champagne Pampy, Fabian Neri, and Glue Eater. It does sound weird to say nicknames like that on a community call, but that's who they are. Welcome to them and congratulations. You have all of the decision power now.
Yeah, and actually just before this call, I've also mentioned to Lawrence that we should look into increasing the allocation points for NFTP, just because the NFT sector is just, yeah, crushing it at the moment. And like just having a bit more liquidity also on the Uniswap market there, or potentially on SushiSwap if we migrated over, would really make a difference, I think. And we could start marketing it more heavily. Now the question is exactly, can we increase the allocation points of this algorithm, which is supposedly kind of neutral, or can we use like take other funds from marketing budgets, for example? So we just started talking about this actually today, because like we've realized that NFTP has made quite a big comeback. But this is something where like we're also happy to, like, you know, if someone wants to make a proposal in a forum for that, or initiate another like separate call about NFTP, for example, could do that as well. But yeah, just to let you know, we're also thinking about how to make NFTP bigger.
So Janiel, if you've got any other questions, then we've got random guy with his hand up. You're noted.
Yep,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, no camera, but it's awfully hot where I'm based. Yeah, it's like 35 or something. Anyway, there is this new kid on the block that's supposed to solve the liquidity problem in DeFi. It's a project called Tokamak. And I noticed that some of the DAOs driving liquidity there into the reactors of Tokamak farming their token. And I understood that 1% of the supply, I mean, if liquidity director has 1% of the supply, can decide to drive the liquidity to different pools. Have you considered or had a look or heard about this project?
I've heard of Tokamak. I've read a couple of articles about them, but I haven't really dug too deeply into the platform because it's still pretty new.
Fairly new. Yeah.
The answer on my part is just that, like, I haven't really dug into it beyond probably seeing some of the same articles that you have on crypto Twitter.
I mean, I also know them, and I actually also know the team, but it's worth also pointing out that we're already paying for liquidity in terms of distributing NDX tokens to people who provide liquidity. Now, I think it could make sense to, in rare occasions where we, for example, launch a new index and want to quickly bootstrap a minimum level of liquidity in order to, make the product usable for retail investors. There it could make sense to partner with something like Tokamak. So it's time that I look into the platform again and look at the costs and so on. But I think the answer is like occasionally it might make sense, but definitely not like constantly, because that's just unsustainable.
Okay, thank you for the insight. Thanks.
No problem. Mark?
Hey guys, thank you for sharing this community call with us. Always good to hear what you guys are up to. I'm a CC10 and DeFi 5 holder, actually on the Polygon side. So that was great to find an index token over there, because you guys were one of the first things when Aave kind of moved all that liquidity over there to do. So that's where I picked up mine, and I've kind of been looking for more use cases, just because lately it seems like the rewards through QuickSwap have kind of diminished, and kind of looking for something else to do. so I'm obviously excited about the NERN thing that you guys are developing, and that seems like that will happen over on Ethereum. And you know, obviously Polygon has some really exciting yield farming going on that could soak up some additional subsidies. So I'm just kind of curious to hear like a couple of things. Like first, like what do you guys think of the Polygon ecosystem? Obviously, they kind of got out in front with some of this kind of alleviation of gas fees and that sort of thing, but it's really taken off. It's just like a sticky place where people really like to engage with these projects, like maybe at a higher level than they've been doing on Ethereum, just because they can do it without spending a fortune. And like what you guys can do to sort of get whether it's a quick swap or you mentioned May Finance, like, you know, more kind of utility for holding these tokens over on the Polygon side. Thanks.
Lino, you're muted.
Yeah, maybe I can take this one because yeah, I've been kind of pushing all the Polygon efforts on our side and like yeah, just be like contributed to being there early and also following the ecosystem quite closely now. So yeah, I think it's always super important to follow what kind of projects are launching there and what kind of partnerships would be beneficial. Things like, so maybe you've noticed also that the QuickSwap team has decreased the rewards for providing liquidities quite a bit. So yeah, that's something that's a bit unfortunate, but yeah, just not in our control. There, I think, you know, it's part of their playbook to pay for liquidity at the beginning and then hope that at some point it becomes kind of self-sustainable, which it sort of seems to be at the moment. I've seen the TVL is still quite significant for our indices. But obviously it would be cooler if there would be a liquidity mining reward. So we're talking, or I'm talking with the QuickSwap team to see if we can reactivate this a little bit, potentially even contribute on our side a little bit to do that. Otherwise, I'm looking at Sushi, doing something there, or Aave. I mean, getting like DeFi 5 on Aave on Polygon would be huge. They've just started deploying a governance module on Polygon, which can whitelist new markets. At the beginning, they launched with 5 and there was no possibility to make a suggestion to add a new one, but this has recently changed. So yeah, and I'm also in touch with the Aave team for that. But again, the issue there's a chaining feed. And so yeah, the next step for us is seeing if we can maybe get a chaining feed on Polygon. And it might be cheaper than just having it for Ethereum mainnet. So these are sort of the 3 partnerships that are super interesting at the moment on Polygon. Sorry, there was a siren in the background. But yeah, I don't know if you know any others that would be interesting in addition to my and those that I've mentioned. But yeah, definitely we're looking to provide more utility on Polygon, and maybe even we've considered launching a Polygon index. It's not like in our immediate roadmap, but it's something that we're looking into. But it's clear that this is becoming a big ecosystem and one that we want to, like, you know, be a big dominant player in.
I didn't realize you can do thumbs up as well on your icons. Anyone else? I mean, it suits me fine if not, because I am starving. It is 8 p.m. here. Fair enough, right. Well, with the end of it,
should we maybe ask, like, there's something that I always kind of want to know in these community calls. Is there someone that has ideas, suggestions, or maybe even is looking into, you know, being more active in the community, contributing in some way? Has some, yeah, I'm super curious to hear if that's the case.
I don't know if you're going to get people responding to that like at the moment, but
No, for sure not.
Oh
But
no, I want someone on the spot right now. Right, prove that you care about this project right now.
oh, hang on, we've got Rule. Rule, stick your hand up, unmute. Oh, is it? Or are you saying that you want to be more involved? I don't know which.
I see two hands up, so maybe there's someone.
Let's see. Does my mic actually work?
Yep.
All right, cool. Yeah. You know, when I heard about this idea about this newsletter and writing the articles about assets in the indices, I really think I can contribute to it. I've been following crypto for a long time, and I've written a bit before, so I'm definitely following that.
Very cool, very cool. Well, you'll hear more about that, and also feel free to message me so we have like a direct communication line. But if not, you'll see about this on one of our communication channels and ways to get involved in that effort.
Definitely, I will send you a message.
He says, Mark, you stuck your hand back up.
Yeah, so you guys talked about May Finance or Cheetah, like it's a project I'm really excited about over on Polygon. And one of the things I'm doing for them is building a Dune Analytics dashboard.
Oh.
And I know in their community, like, you know, people are just obsessive about like, okay, what's the revenue? Like what's happening here, what's happening there, and looking for dashboards. So I have to look and see like what you guys are doing on Dune or what people put up for you. But like, I know that can be like an exciting tool that can just be kind of adjacent to like what you're doing already on your own website. I think the research idea that you guys have is like incredible. I think that can funnel a lot of people in, and just like that would drive a lot of interest. So I could see Dune being also kind of like a part of that.
We have a Dune Analytics dashboard, which I put together, but I will admit right now in front of everyone that I am not the best at SQL. So my queries are all right, but some of it, so the nature of some of the indices in there is that like, because of the way that data is sourced, some of the stuff is not completely accurate. To be blunt, if you come in and start helping us out with some, you know, like interesting, decent, useful analytic stuff, I will pay you myself to do that. So I'm happy to talk to you. Like, I don't even care about grant stuff. I will just give you my money. So yeah, if you can like send me a message about this stuff, because yeah, like I took over some of the Dune Analytics stuff from 0x Boxer. And kind of built on it itself, but it's been something that I've wanted to kind of see expanded on for a little while. So yeah, by all means, please ding me on Discord. I want to talk to you.
I'll find you on Discord. Great.
Yeah, I agree. It hasn't really evolved since the beginning. This Dune Analytics dashboard. There's definitely a lot more metrics, especially now with NERN also, that would be relevant to the community. And I totally agree that it ties into our research efforts and this index spotlight or index research effort that we're looking to do. But if you're a data guy, like a number guy, maybe you're also interested to write as well as building out a dashboard, then definitely, like, either way, let's chat. But if you're looking to also contribute in writing, I'd be super happy.
And again, the way to do that is to just contact us on that. And yeah, Fnery's pointed out that, yeah, there is revenue data on Token Terminal. It's a different source as opposed to just having it as an all-in-one in June. But that was really appreciated when he bumped in. He was like, oh, by the way, I've done you a script that shows you all of your revenue data. And now I work at Token Terminal and the dashboard there.
Because I just want to point out, like, people are paying money for Delphi Digital and Messari research, like a lot of money. And it's not difficult, you know, if you follow crypto and you kind of understand the market and you know where to get data from, like on things like Dune and other data sources. It's so easy to actually put something together that expresses some opinion on a given project. And, you know, if people are willing to pay hundreds and hundreds per month for these platforms, then you can be sure that they will do everything, or like they'll rush to our platform if it's free content. And so I think it has a lot of potential as a kind of user acquisition channel. But again, the problem is time here. And that's why I'm super keen to get this as decentralized, make this a decentralized effort. and it can be fun to build it out. So yeah, this is what I want to finish on.
Yep. And with that, I think we will finish because it's now been 1 hour and 10. So again, thank you for all of you that survived all the way through. We will make this less infrequent going forward. I will trim the beginning and end of this, probably to shortly after this, and throw it up on the YouTube and the Twitter for those of us who want to relive these glorious past few minutes. But yeah, go about your daily lives, everyone. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful time in the sphere.
Take care, everyone.